Hi, I'm Clayton. This is Drew, and this is Bobby.
Alright.
We're here representing for General Motors Group. We're running through our external and internal analysis right quick. We'll start with the customer analysis. So we divided it up into 8 markets: the compact car, mid-size sedan, luxury car, SUV, minivan, van, full-size van, pickups, and sports cars. I got the total market size for each one. I'm not going to run you down a list. It's kind of repetitive, it's a bunch of numbers and millions of it. But some customer motivations for each type of car. I'll start with compact. Compact cars have good gas mileage. They're small, they're easy to drive and handle, and they're good for a single or small family. Mid-size sedans are comfortable. They still have good gas mileage, but they're more family oriented. And people like to have a full size or luxury sedan because it makes you look like a higher end customer. It's for older demographics for the most part, or people trying to show off, you know, just to prove their value. The SUVs are favored by customers because they have a huge towing capacity, large size, they give off a look of power, and you want a space for cargo or your family. Same kind of thing with the minivan, but not really the power, but you have good gas mileage as compared to an SUV. It's more family oriented. The pickup truck has customer motivations because it's construction capability, its huge towing capacity, and the idea of power. The sports car market, the motivation for that is to have luxury, the rich image, power, speed, or the exotic appeal of the car. And then a full size van is for more of comfort on road trips, camping, or space. And I feel some unmet needs for the customer is motorsports. GM really doesn't make any type of motorcycle, ATV, or boat engines. It's typically dominated by Japanese firms. Mostly Honda has that on lock. Um, that's missing out on a good amount of young people. People look for fun with that kind of unmet need, and maybe they should focus on that, make an extension at some point. And
Alright, and I'm Drew, and I'm going to talk about the internal analysis for GM. In terms of performance analysis, sales for GM increased 4% October 2009 over October 2008. In terms of like their quality service and customer satisfaction, obviously they want to regain satisfaction. And this year, the GMC Arcadia, Sierra 1500, the Terrain, and Yukon were all named Best Buys by Consumer Digest, which includes like a fuel efficiency, performance, cost, quality. So that's getting better for them. In terms of new products they've had come out this year, they launched the Camaro, Equinox, and Traverse, and basically they've been very good products for them so far. In terms of some of their past strategy, they've always been based on innovation. Um, it said, first of all, in 1911, they engineered the first self-starter engine. And in '96, they also introduced the OnStar satellite system, which allows people inside the communicate with OnStar personnel about like theft, emergencies, whatnot. Some strategic problems I found with GM were that they are really behind on like the hybrid energy trend. This has really hurt their market share, and we would just suggest offering more hybrid vehicles or having vehicles that have better aerodynamics to get better fuel efficiency. Um, GM seems way too dependent on the U.S. market. I mean, they sell like twice the amount of vehicles in the U.S. as in any other country. And we felt like they should tap into maybe the Chinese or Indian markets or Korean. Another problem they've had is the pension payouts to its employees. They're experiencing a lot of problems right now with paying them out with the lack of funds. Um, some characteristics of their internal structure. They've been too vertically integrated, which has caused a lack of communication between employees and top management. So they need to become more horizontally integrated. Um, and as I talked about earlier, they've always been like an innovation company, and they're actually starting to change towards a transformational strategy. They're unveiling an e-flex system, which enable multiple propulsion systems to be installed in um, chassis, and they're also focusing on the commercialization of the hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. In terms of like their culture, um, they've always been based on like inclusion, mutual respect, responsibility, and understanding, and they're inviting employees to be a part of the new program called IMGM, which highlights the value of each person and shows the rich diversity of the workforce. In terms of their strengths and weaknesses, some strengths would be they have a variety of quality brand names, especially their four core ones, which are Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, and GMC, and these appeal to like any and all type of target market you could ever think of. And then, as I said earlier, another strength would be their OnStar system that they have that no other companies have. And then weaknesses, as I said earlier, would be in terms of behind on like the energy movement and whatnot, and how they're too dependent on the U.S. market, and they need to be able to compete against like the Hyundais and Hondas that are overseas. In terms of some of their financial stuff, their sales, the third quarter earnings that just came out over last quarter, they had 26 billion dollars in sales as opposed to 1 billion second quarter this year. So that's one of the things that we noticed that was a lot better for GM. So, and that's it for me. Move on to the competitor analysis.
All right, yeah, I'm going to take the GM's competitor analysis. Starting off to talk about some of their major competitors: Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, and Honda. Toyota, as of the end of 2008, at 13.3% of the market share. Volkswagen 9.3%, Ford 7.8%, and Honda at 5.6%. A little explanation of the competition. GM's global presence and product line forces the company to compete globally with every mass auto producer, and GM obviously is still working to better their position as far as globally goes. Also, daily foreign competitors challenge GM for its market share, as I was talking about. That goes about with GM having to do better with their non-U.S. market. Foreign competitors now have over 50% market share. Obviously, the big three is kind of no longer the big three, and the foreign competitors keep gaining advantage on GM as well as Ford. And obviously, when you're talking about competitors, depending on what type of car or what type of market you're talking about, changes the competitors a little bit. For example, in the hybrid, you're competing more against Honda and Toyota, whereas like SUVs, you're competing more against Ford. Then to move on, just to break down the competitors a little bit more. Starting off with Toyota, the diversity of the company's offerings combined with market size make the company a competitor worldwide. Most sales are in Japan and the United States, and Toyota's brands also include Lexus and Scion. A couple of their strengths are brand recognition, resulting in ability to charge more and earn higher profits. Next, the Prius has forged Toyota well ahead of the other companies in the low emission category, which is going to be a great strength for them now as well as in the future. Moving on to some weaknesses, their rush to increase capacity and increase their manufacturing capabilities has put production way ahead of demand, so they have a lot of excess inventory now. Next, moving on, Volkswagen. The company produces almost every type of car imaginable. They also have successful financing for their automobiles, making it easier for people to buy. Volkswagen brands also include Audi, Bentley, Bugatti, Lamborghini, and Volkswagen. A little bit of their strengths, as I said before, financing. In developed countries, 75% of cars sold in the Western Hemisphere are financed. Next strength is their trend is as the trend of buying smaller cars grows, Volkswagen continues to take advantage of that. Next, going on to weaknesses of Volkswagen. Volkswagen workers are not unionized. This has caused a problem to this point, but much like the big three, could have a negative impact. Moving on, Volkswagen has a small market share of North America, which is one of the world's largest markets. So they're doing better in other markets across the world, but they need to work on improving their U.S. market share. Next, Ford. Ford is currently attempting to turn around their business, as is GM. The company strives for improving operational efficiency. It's also looking to develop smaller, more fuel-efficient cars in the future. Their brands also include Mercury, Lincoln, and Volvo. Moving on to strengths, Ford has been improving the quality and reliability of its automobiles in the past couple of years to try to compete with the foreign competitors. Also, financing. Ford finances automobiles in 36 countries throughout 12,500 dealerships. Lastly, Ford's weaknesses. Ford has been dealing with the cost of production in the U.S. for years, resulting in the problems that it faces today, as well as the same problems as GM. And lastly, Ford must deal with the changing economy and rebuild the company's infrastructure to succeed, which again is right on the same lines as GM. So that's it for the competitor analysis, and now I'm going to turn it back over to Clayton for the external analysis.
All right, I'm just going to wrap up the rest of the external analysis. Basically, some political issues are there's no trade regulations so much anymore. It's just only concerning emissions and also safer automobiles, just to make sure automobiles have a certain safety standard. And